We are
Good
live.
morning.
Good morning, Jennifer.
How are you?
I am, I'm about as good as I look, and that's pretty damn good. How you like that?
Okay, I'm gonna take that.
Yeah, how are you this morning?
A little bit in mommy mode and trying to. I'm good. I'm here. That's what matters.
Mommy mode or taco mode?
Not taco mode. I'm good and I'm energized and I'm not overwhelmed to the point where I can't make decisions. So I'm definitely not in taco mode.
Not in taco mode. Well, good morning out there, all you amazing people in the Omniverse. Got a little call to action here. Where let us know where you at, and if it's your first time, please drop a blue heart in the comments so we can show
Yes.
you some love and make sure everybody's connected to you. We got DJ Hootie Hoots in the background.
Yeah.
Says, "What's up, you beautiful people?"
Good morning.
Oh, look at that. We got Mr. Jim Guntori. Jim, are you listening with your headset on or are you sharing the love?
With your wife this morning.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So how was your week, Jennifer?
This week was a little different than usual because work was still work, but we had the ice storm from crazy and
Alaska?
the world shut down in Dallas this week. And so had some kids at home. And so it was navigating a little bit different than usual. So we are back to normal, almost normal.
Yeah. Well, my trip to Dallas got trips. I had two
Yes.
engagements scheduled with some amazing leaders, and we made the responsible decision. Actually, shouldn't say we because I was raring to go. But when they said, maybe not, it's like, okay, you're right. That's the responsible thing to do.
Yes.
So I was just here masterminding my plan to take over the world.
Of course.
Mr. Bradley Parnell. Morning, Bradley. How you doing, my man? Coming in from Vegas. We're gonna be in Vegas here.
I know we are in a little over a month.
What are we gonna be? Is it like a party over there?
Well, I think it's multiple things. One, we're presenting together like on a national stage, which is awesome because we've not done that.
Fishnets.
No fishnets, but we are presenting at the AGC National Convention in Vegas. The second week, I believe, in March.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Yes.
It's gonna be talking about people and processes and all the magic.
Yes.
I'm gonna do my best to represent the No BS tribe, like for real, for real.
Yes, and we may even be talking about that a little bit in our presentation.
Absolutely. Absolutely, we're going to be talking about the No BS tribe. Jim Gunturia says he's in the truck right now, probably headed to work at work. Nice. Mm-hmm. Thank you for making the sacrifice, my friend. Buddy. Hey, so did you know that Buddy's like a voice actor now?
I do. Literally, he's like the, what is it? The Morgan Freeman of audiobooks.
I just love listening to his voice. And so, yes, y'all, the Lean in Love audiobook, the audio version of the book,
yes,
is available to a very specific audience. So anybody that's signing up for all the emotional bungee jumpers are going to get first access to it. March 18th is when we're going to release it to the general public. So if you want you want dibs on it and like a super awesome experience, building some leadership skills and community, connecting with other industry professionals, hit up the emotional bungee jumpers.
And it's cool because it's the book, but it's like got multiple voices. It's not just one person reading the book. It's like got some Buddy in there and some Adam in there and some Jesse in there and some me in there and all together in one package. It's like so cool.
I'm gonna tell you what, like Adam totally steals the show.
He does.
He does a fun. His reading voice is awesome. Don't tell him I said that because you know how he is.
You get a big head.
He's there in the background listening to all of this. Miss Amy Campbell, how you doing, Miss Amy?
Whoop, whoop.
Coming in from Durham, North Carolina. Adam, how far a drive is that? 7-hour drive. That's a joke because Adam and I both have made the mistake of doing something, saying, yeah, let's do that. And then, that's a 4-hour drive. So how are you doing, Miss Amy? And all right, Jen. So today we kind of explained yesterday on the pop-up why you picked this subject.
Okay, well, no. So, and not everyone, in fact, there's not many people here that were on the pop-up. So let's like do a little bit of refresh on you and I were talking about the assignments that I gave the tribe 2 weeks ago to go and watch Sing 2, which is an animated movie, because of some of the conversations we were having. I felt there were some parallels. And so I thought it would be a fun. We haven't done a movie in a while, so let's give some homework and then see if our tribe members can see it and take something from it. From that conversation, you responded with, "I couldn't get through the first 10 minutes. Like it was like I had to turn it off." And you were like, "Ah." And so why don't we go from that point to how we got to Show Pipe and Fluff?
Yeah. So before I get into the explanation. The homework was to watch the movie Show 2, or what was it? Sing
2.
And figure out which character resembled Jen the most.
I don't think that was the homework.
Tribe out there in the Omniverse, let us know which character resembled Jen the most, and I'll go into the explanation.
Of course. Or Jesse. You can just go ahead and put that in there too.
Oh, look at that. I think you bribed Adam back there.
Thank you, Adam.
So yeah, I went to watch the movie. Like I'm cool with kid movies. I don't really watch them. But the first time I sat down to watch it, it was just like I couldn't get past it because it just felt like lipstick. Like it was just too much busyness. Like the characters. I met the characters in one, right? Like, and so they were. Anyways, I'm expecting a story, and it took. Even when I went back and watched the whole damn thing, it took a very long time for them to like get to the story. And when you and I were talking about it, what it reminded, I was like, man, it's like Show Pipe. And you said, Show Pipe? What's Show Pipe? And so Show Pipe, I used to work with Ed Mauricio, who's a pipe fitter back when I was an apprentice. And he would tell me like, Jesse, all you're doing is Show Pipe. Cause I would be like super proud because I'd get up there and rack up all my supply and return piping and the overhead. And like be puffing up my chest. Look at what I did. He's like, "What'd you do?" Well, that's just Show Pipe, man. And so the point, like the idea behind Show Pipe is it's all for show. It's not doing anything. It's not accomplishing anything. It's not contributing. It's not in alignment with the purpose. And so what would be the purpose in running the pipe? Well, connecting to the VAVs, connecting to the air handlers. And so that's the deal, right? And same thing, of course, I adopted that and I weaponized it for the teams and the crews that I worked with after that, because it was the very same thing. We'd set up production goals and it'd be 180 foot per hour or whatever it was. And like, yeah, look at all the pipe. And I was like, yeah, that's Show Pipe. It's not doing any more than it was doing sitting in the Connex or sitting at the supply house. It's just racked in a different thing, like connect it, solder it, screw it together, assemble the pipe, connect the fixtures or the units, and now you're actually accomplishing something. And so for me, the very front end of that movie was just Show Pipe. It's like, come on, bro, like I know the lizard lady, she only has one eye. Come on, like you already used that one. Let's go. And so when you and I were talking about it, then you started talking about Fluff. You didn't call it Fluff. I called it Fluff.
You called it Fluff, but yes.
But can you describe to our people what you meant when, like, what idea that like shook in your head?
Yes. So I had gotten off of a call, and I'm hoping people can relate to this. You're engaging in a conversation with someone, and the first 5 or 10 minutes, they're just going through, here's who I know, here's my credentials, here's my experience, here's what I've got, here's why I bring value, and like nothing contributing to the purpose of why we're talking. It is almost like, let me make sure you know what I'm bringing. And it reminded me of your Show Pipe too, of like, look at what I've done. And then at this point, like we stop and we go, okay, and we've wasted 10 minutes, and now we get to have the conversation as to why we're even here. And so it related to, all the busyness that you were talking about in conversations with people. And how many times they're going and we're talking and they're all over the place, but it's like, what is the purpose of why we're here?
Right. Yeah. No, for me, so that also triggered for me. It's like, okay, what, like you just said a lot of words. What the hell was that supposed, like, what am I supposed to take away from that?
Yes.
And it feels like they're just taking up airspace, right? Or the ones that really, I'm just going to be straight up honest. When I hear this type of interaction, I'm like, ooh, I want to help that person. I want to work with them because they may not be aware, right? Like awareness often is low. So what they'll do is they're listening to the leader, the person with the most influence in the room, and they'll say stuff like, oh, that's a great idea. I like that is 100%. That's what we need to do. That makes the most sense. You know, that aligns with our strategy. And it's like, just you could accomplish all of that by nodding your head, right, and saying yes. Like that's it. All that extra stuff is just fluff. And so what is the purpose of it, right? So for you, you know, we talked about it, me, you, and Adam, and it really comes back to me in terms of like, what's the purpose of all the stuff? Are we going to get there or not? I mean, I understand entertainment or making things digestible, but if I ain't got nothing to say, I mean, here's like a real thing, and I've been dinged for it in the past about not speaking up, right? Like, why don't you speak up in meetings? Why don't you speak first? Why don't so first, I don't speak first because I'm listening. I want to understand as many perspectives as I possibly can so that I can contribute appropriately. Second, I am not going to say anything. Well, like straight up, I might say dumb stuff just to be goofy and have fun. And I'm not going to say anything that's already been said. I'm not going to say anything unless it adds value, meaning challenge the idea or like significantly add to the conversation. I'm not going to be a topper. You ever deal with those toppers?
Yeah. Yeah, where it's like it's adding one more thing, like it's, oh yeah, but my fish is bigger. And,
yes.
oh yeah, I've done that 3 times. Yes.
Yeah. So like all of that is like, okay, what was the point of that? So anyways, that's where the idea of show pipe and fluff came from, and that's what we wanted to bring to the tribe of how does that land with you? And of course, because y'all are out there and y'all are amazing, you're gonna help take this conversation to some magical place. And so I'm gonna go to the comments.
Of course, yes.
Miss Amy says, yes, yeah, like come on, man, like let's get to it. We got stuff to do. We got Vince Trevi. Oh no, James Gable says good morning. Oh, y'all.
Yes, you did. That was good, y'all.
Well, he's getting some Texas lessons in there because Jim Gontoria says just y'all. You don't need to add the all. Uh-oh, we got an editor in the audience. I love that. Miss Carol, good morning, Carol. She's rock on, no BSers.
Yes.
And then Vince Trevino, my buddy here in the 210. What's up, Vince? Man, if y'all like Vince and I are connected on Facebook, and he posts some super fun stuff, like cowboy related, Dallas Cowboy related.
Oh,
hilarious stuff. Y'all got to check him out.
Is he a fan or not a fan? Because I got to get him connected with Brian. Is he a fan?
I have no idea.
Okay. Anyway, Vince, I need to get you connected with my brother Brian Lacy on Facebook because he is not a Cowboy fan. And so he's got like 30 days worth of memes that he is just every day loading up Facebook with. So I got to get you connected with him. Oh
man. Yes. Connect. And then we got Miss Yesenia. Did you see her post yesterday, Jen?
Oh my gosh. With her hair.
Yes.
It was awesome.
So cool. She looked like Yesenia, you look super happy. Like the energy was like coming through my phone. Like, dang, that girl, she's up today.
What her hair was like Storm. I felt like she was like in this Storm.
Yes, I agree. Good morning. She's gonna be on the road and she's gonna be listening. So thank you for joining in.
Oh, we got more. Like I see, like Demetria. Good morning. Yeah. We haven't seen her in a while.
Demetria, what's up? I know how you doing, girl. We're gonna be hanging out with her in
We do
April.
get to. I'm so excited.
Yes, reciprocal propulsion girl is coming. You best be ready. All right. So we have one person so far that did their homework. And we're gonna let me see. I lost her. Here she is. Miss Yesenia, of course, the storm. She says, I'm Gunter and you're Portia.
We're not Portia. No.
Portia's like the diva, right?
Portia's the diva that can't act.
Yeah. I'm not gonna argue.
Well, I disagree, but that's okay. You're allowed to have your opinion.
That's Jen Topping right there, y'all, in case you don't know what it looks like. and she's saying she's Miss Crawley. Which one? That's the
eyeball one.
So she's the one out there banging up the Ferrari. I love it. Thank you, Yesenia. So Jen, Alex, my BFF, had made an assessment as to
she did
which character I was, which yes. I agree with her like 100%. Can you like describe the character and tell us about that?
So let me backtrack. So we had this conversation and my brain automatically, Yesenia, I agree, went to Gunther. Like I was like, oh, that's Jesse. Like he's got, he's kind of coming in, he's got the ideas, but he's like all show. And then I was talking to Alex, we were watching it again. And I was like, cause I wanted to review it. And I was talking to Alex and I was like, oh yeah, we're going to talk about it on, on the No BS. She's like, well, I know who Jesse is. And I'm like, okay. She's like, he's Darius. I'm like, who's Darius? I don't even remember Darius. Like, is that a character? Yeah, Mom, it's this one. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. He's Darius. And if you watch the movie, he's the character. He comes in Sing 2. He wasn't in Sing 1. And he's the, we're going to call it a yak. I think we decided, right, Jesse, or something like that.
Yeah, we decided on yak.
He comes in and he's the one that does the duet with Mimi. I can't remember. The elephant. And he comes in and he's got all my followers. He's got the light shining down from heaven. And it's just like his hair is flowing and all that. And oh my God, she was absolutely right. I completely forgot about that character.
Oh, when I was watching it, when that fool came out, I was like, oh, I love that guy. There we go. Adam, come on, listen, where we go? Bring it back. There we go. Nana Noodleman. Which one's that? Is that
that's almost the
matriarch.
The matriarch of everything.
But she was nice. How are you calling her? I don't know. I think you got it. But you know what? Adam did his homework.
He did.
That's the takeaway, y'all.
Yes.
Adam did his homework. And I'm Todrick Hall.
Which one? Sorry. Maria just she corrected me. Mina was the elephant. Yes. Thank you, Maria.
Mina. Okay.
Yes.
Which one was Todrick Hall?
I don't know. Todrick. Well, we'll find out. Somebody will explain it, I'm sure.
I'll take it. I'm happy. As long as, I'm up there on the screen getting attention, I'm all right with it.
Okay, Jesse, who did you think you agreed with Darius?
Oh, yeah, totally. Like,
okay.
Like the piggy guy, like I get it, like him flashy and always just kind of random. But I'm like, the Darius is more, I think, more consistent with the energy that I put out.
I agree.
And honestly, like I wasn't thinking about anybody else when I watched the movie. So of Darius, right? After this morning, I'm thinking like, I think I was supposed to figure out who Adam was and who Jen or whatever. I don't even remember because I was thinking about me the whole time. So let's see what we got. The tribe. Okay. Carol says you got to get to it. That's the no BS part, right?
Yes.
Most meetings I must attend are chock full of that. Lots of talk. It's a cover up for insecurity. Ooh,
nice.
What do you think about that, Jennifer?
Oh, absolutely. And you and we've talked about this, and I think that's why the conversation came up is how much. There's an article out there, and I'll probably post it this week just to follow up. But it's called The Silent Leader, and it's really focused on those people in meetings that are not the ones with the loudest voice, and they're not the ones that say the most. And just how many people, like, they get almost discounted because they're quiet and they don't interject and they don't do all these things. But the article is amazing because it's like when you read it, you're like, that just because people aren't talking doesn't mean that they're not leading.
Yes.
And so it's yes, I agree 100% with Carol. Is sometimes those people that are trying to fill that space is a little bit of pomp and circumstance. I feel like sometimes it's the smoke and mirrors. Like, let me just say enough to where they're all kind of confused, and then I can, like, do what I need to do. But I also think some of it is that they are trying to validate. They're trying to make sure that people in the room they give them credibility, but they're not saying anything. But it's like, I know this person and I've done this and I've been with, and that's part of the introductions and things like that. Like, sometimes people been with this and I've done this and whatever. And then it's like they've created credibility. And my struggle with that is usually the people in the room either already know them or all the things they're saying are not relevant to the reason and the purpose of the meeting.
Yeah.
So.
I think for me, like, there's a lot of possibilities as to why people show up that way. Mm-hmm. One, there's a deficit, right? Like, there's a blindness to, or maybe over focus on their insecurities and trying to show out. It reminds me, I used to play softball a lot, and we'd go every Sunday, right? Softball tournaments. You'd show up, and I was on a team, and anybody else would pick you up, people needed players and play all day long. And it didn't matter where I was playing, any part of town or big giant tournaments that we would travel to play in. And there was always a few dudes that would show up, and they had like the eye rub, and they had the the rags and towels and like all the gear, the bat bag back with the $300, $400 bats. And let me tell you, they had zero game almost all the time. And so they had all this gear that kind of made it look like they could play. And then you put them in the field and they just couldn't. So that's one reality, but that's not the truth for everybody. I think, I was talking to Chris and Matt yesterday, Chris Gutkiss, and he talked about like this awareness thing, and this tied directly to what you were saying, where the leader speaks first. And I think there is actual training, like leadership development, executive coaching, that says, be the authority in the room, hold the space, fill the air. Like, it says to do that. And that's okay. Like, that's not my style. It's okay. But here's the problem. If you're looking for feedback, if you're looking for inclusivity and depth of conversation with everybody in the room, and I'm the person with the most responsibility, the most influence, like hiring, firing capability, and I speak first, Simon Sinek has like a little video about it. I've already signaled, and it may not have been my intent, but I have already signaled to everybody my stance. And so what happens is the rest of the folks in the room are like, okay, well, meeting over. Like, if I have a dissenting opinion or thought, I'm at risk now. So unless I'm like super courageous, like Jennifer Lacy being the Portia and having no fear to jump right off the bat, it is less likely for me to contribute to the conversation. Right. And Chris, he was talking about a specific situation where, like, he's the big dog in his business, straight, like he's the guy. And often he'll run into people and ask them to do something, ask them to work on something. And what do? They drop everything they're doing to do that thing. Because why? Because freaking Chris asked. But he's not wielding that power and authority in that manner. He thinks like, hey, could you do this? Like, fit it into your schedule. That's not what people interpret. People interpret, the boss said, do this damn thing, so I'm gonna go do this thing. And so there's value, right? So in building our self-awareness in terms of understanding that our words, our voice, our message is amplified by our position. right? Our title and our role impact all. Like, I'm a big dummy. You know that. The tribe knows that. There's some people that are thinking about starting a podcast and starting live stream, and I'm talking to them, and they're like taking notes, and I got to do it. Like, I was like, man, I'm not like, but because I have some experience, and I there's some visibility, so I got to be aware of that and be very clear about, hey, these are the things that I use now. There are other things out there that have way more functionality and fancier and better quality, blah blah blah. These are just the things I use, so that I don't like to help people understand that this isn't the way, this is a way. And so in meetings, I put in a lot of effort to speak last, because I don't want to guide and lead people in the room unless I'm like, we'll just say the person with the least authority and the least influence. Then I don't mind speaking, because my influence is small and I'm not going to deter people. At least that's what I tell myself. What do you think, Jen?
No, 100, yes. And so, and I love the conversation because there's also that facilitation piece that a lot of us are in those positions. And I'm just going to speak specifically from my position within my firm, is a lot of the facilitation of the meetings. I may be the subject matter expert, or I may be the person in the room with the biggest title. In the way we facilitate and the way we engage and the way we listen can completely elevate that or tear it down and make it be not relevant. And so how we facilitate, how we engage, how we get feedback in a room, if we're in that facilitation mode, I think is important. So here's an example is when I go into a room, usually the range of people in the room is anywhere from project executive. It could be it could be a field engineer. It could be a job site assistant. It doesn't matter. Pre-con estimator. Like, most of my rooms are filled with all kinds of titles, and they're in a training class or a new hire class or whatever. And we kind of go through the whole, what's your title, what you do. We do all that. Then the rest of the class, most of the times I pose questions out or I ask questions, they're writing their responses on sticky notes. And it's something specifically I do because I want to hit what you said, is I've been in rooms where we have a project executive, or we have one of our leaders from the company in the room. And I intentionally let them talk last, but sometimes I can't stop them because they can't help it. And when they speak and they give their opinion, just like you said, everyone else in the room is like, how do I align with that? How do I align with that? Because they're our leader and they're the ones that that are driving this. I need to make sure they know I'm aligned with them. And I understand where it comes from, but it doesn't continue to make us better. And so for me, and that's where I live in this continuous improvement. How can we continue to keep moving? Not just, hey, we're good, status quo, but how do we continue to get better? And so forcing people to not, the leaders to speak last if I'm facilitating, or I speak last when I give my thoughts, but everyone in the room is able to give their individual thoughts, and then we share them. And it's cool because some of them are so aligned that they're like, oh crap, I wrote the same thing you did. So it's cool, but it's also someone goes, oh, I didn't even think about that. And it doesn't get our brain so sucked into, to make sure that I'm doing the things I'm supposed to do, and this falls in line, and it keeps me in this safe place. It gives them the freedom to put their thoughts out there.
Yes. So here's a question in my head. I mean, obviously you've been facilitating, you've been doing this a long time. Your role as the facilitator and like the champion of building forward is unique in that you do have a lot of influence, but you're like Switzerland, right? Like,
yes.
You're not on either side. You're on the side of the best outcome.
Yes.
And we have an understanding of like typical behavior that does not contribute to the mission, meaning leader taking all the airspace and stuff like that. How often, what do the conversations sound like when you sit down with the leader, preparing them for the engagement that they're about to get into?
There's a lot of solutionizing already before we ever get into what we're trying to talk about. So a lot of they have the experience and they already know what needs to happen. And so the questions usually in those conversations are, so why are we meeting? Why are we getting a group of people together? And we kind of have to get past a little bit of that protective armor, because people that are in leadership positions most of them didn't just get dropped into that position.
Right.
Like they've got experience or they've done something that's got them elevated to that position. And it's protective armor. It shows that they have their voice matters, and that what they've done matters, their body of work, all those things. And coming into a room to where your armor is stripped off and you are naked and you are vulnerable is not a place that they will run into. They will not just go, let me do that. And so it's not just me ripping it off. But it's also like having to prepare them for the conversations and what we're doing. It's super scary. And yeah. I see it in their faces, but it also, I'm seeing more and more of them going, okay, we'll just go do it and see what happens. And so it's that, would you follow Jesse over the hill having no idea what's on the other side? That, to me, I know all these other things are important, but to me, that's the question that then lets me know that's a leader. If someone would follow them because of what they've done, and you and I say this a lot, are you exhibiting the behaviors you seek? And that's you've ingrained it in my head. So when I'm doing something, I'm engaging with people at any level, any job site, whatever I'm doing, am I exhibiting? Are they seeing in me what I'm hoping to see in them? And it could be scary, and they could be like, oh, that's not me. But by doing that, it gets people that answer the phone when I call and go, Jennifer, what do you need? Because whatever you're going to ask for, I will do it.
Yep.
Those are our superintendents and our leaders that will do it, because they know that wherever I'm taking them, it's not going to be a bad place.
Yeah. Amazing. And that's the thing, right? Is the scary, I mean, sure, it's scary for them. And now you have a whole bunch of reps, but like sitting down with the executives of the business and telling them like, hey, bro, I need you to like button it up for a little bit. Yes. That's a scary feeling. I've had to do that too. Or post coaching, right? Yes. We used to do these, people will report out on their problem solving initiatives. And during the presentation, they'd start digging and what are the metrics? Yes. And like the poor damn person is really just giving a status update on what they've learned so far.
Yes.
And guess what? That person's like, I ain't doing that again, because I am not going to present until it's perfect. And we know what that does. Yes. Like, hey, Mr. Leader, Mrs. Leader, let's have a conversation. And it sounds condescending, but the best way I could describe it was like, look, when people are presenting their progress, questions are 100% like good. Anything beside, like, just think about your kid bringing their second grade and first grade artwork. You say, that's awesome. You put a lot of work into that. That's great. Put it on the refrigerator. Don't throw it away when they're looking. Right? Like, they are in the process of developing the skill. And when you go in and like hyper attack it, you shut them down. And I think that's the whole point, right? It's like how it is the behavior, the way we speak, the way we respond, they will create the conditions for people to bring their full selves to the conversation or to the work, to the office, to the job site. And another like absolute killer of that, you said it, and Jake Harrell says solutionizing. Like that solutionizing behavior, it's a solution shank, right? Like we're attacking, maybe not on purpose, but it's the nail in the forehead video, right? It's let me understand the situation. Let me understand. Do you want advice? Do you need support? Are you just venting before I start solving all the dumb problems for you? And, you know, where it comes with this, I think that solutionizing behavior is ingrained in us, especially as we've progressed traditionally, because the leader is supposed to know all the answers, right? The leader is supposed to know and make the decisions and make all the right calls and blah, blah, blah. So to break that habit is very difficult. And if you want help breaking that habit, hit up emotional bungee jumping.
Yes.
We are specifically targeting that behavior and building the skill to learn how to listen and learn how to ask interested questions without giving the answer, without solving the problem in the moment. Super uncomfortable, but super awesome. We had a good time on the last call, and got one coming up here in a few weeks.
But we also understand it's like a lot of our roles is continuous improvement. Like that is part of what our job is. And we've got to be able to separate that from being in a continuous improvement space or having a CI title doesn't mean that you have to be the one with all the answers. And like they're like, what are you talking about? Being in that role is also about engagement and about having those interactions and about pulling information and ideas and brainstorming. And then together, okay, what about this? Like being able to be in that space is a give and take. It's not I have a CI role because I am the one that's going to continue making us better. Like it's hard to separate those sometimes.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we just had Jake Harrell's post up here. Like, I haven't worked with him in any continuous improvement efforts, but just his character tells me that it would be an enjoyable experience.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I
have been and have also worked with people in the continuous improvement role, and it's like absolute dictatorship. And I used to just tell people, nope, that's not the way you do it. You're doing it wrong. This is the standard. And guess what? They don't want to invite me back to the party because I wasn't on the side of the best outcome. I was on my side. I wanted to be able to walk away and say, look at all the improvement I facilitated. And so like the detachment of ego was a big thing for me. And so James Gable, of course, he really appreciates deep wisdom. And he says, you're on the side of the best outcome. That's a keeper. A lot of conflict and great ideas are lost in defense of an emotionally attached idea. My new mantra is prove me wrong. When you do, I become more right in the process.
Whoa, right? That's taking some armor off right there.
Yeah, but that's it, right? Like, it's difficult, but don't marry yourself to the idea yet. I mean, you've talked about this, Jen, on your morning walks, right? The behavior that's shifted from before you had to like archive and capture everything. Can you describe that for all people out there?
Yes. So I am one that idea hits. Let me write it down. Something's, you and I are talking, and Jesse, sometimes I know it drives you crazy. I'm like, I'm writing down as we go because I don't want to lose it. And it's not that that's the answer. It's that'll then later on spark an idea. And so when I started doing walks, walking intentionally just to kind of get away and get in the right headspace, I didn't bring anything to capture ideas. And what I realized is sometimes I'm, halfway through my walk and I'm having this like brainstorm and going on in my head, but because all I could do was keep walking. And then the thoughts just kept like growing and growing. And then 30 minutes later, it's now in a way different place, but also like way more. I mean, like it grew and it became something that I never would have allowed it to do if I just wrote it down as soon as the thought came into my head. And like, I don't even know how else to describe it other than, I mean, there's one of them was I went on this walk and came back and with Jesse, I have the whole outline for our second book. And it was like, I don't even know how that happened, but that was not the intention to go on the walk. And it was just because my brain just was allowed to continue to grow. And it's very similar to what we're talking about. When an idea gets out there and we allow it to continue to ruminate and grow and bounce it off. And no, I don't like that, but I like this. But what about this? It now becomes something that didn't exist.
Yes. Like there's all kinds of content out there about like having free space. Mm-hmm. And when we're not like hyper focused on the thing and doing something entirely different, there's like a state of flow where the answer like reveals itself. Mm-hmm. The solution will come up over time as long as we let it. Miss Sarah.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sarah. How are you? She says, this is also why I don't immediately answer employee emails or instant messages. She finds it, if she lets it dwell a little bit, they come back and say they figured it out or I figured it out, right? Like, so give it time to like breathe. And
I love that. I love that because that is it. If anyone's ever emailed me while I'm out, like on vacation or out of the office, my out of office hits this. It says, I am away with my family, not da da da. If your request has not been solved or you haven't figured it out by this date, when I return, I'm happy to have a follow-up. There's not very many follow-ups I get. It's like an instant email to me, but when I'm not available, it just puts them in a different place where they're trying to figure it out versus just pushing the Jennifer button. So yes, I love that.
Yeah, because then, I mean, that's a whole other thing, like leadership problem. If you are always at their beck and call, like, I don't mean, I'm trying to make this sound as positive as possible, but when I always respond and solutionize and I create dependency.
Yep.
And even worse, I handicap
Mhm.
the people, right? By always being like, nobody can make a decision. I'm mother hen all the time. Like, they're stuck. And then I'm frustrated and I'm overloaded because I can't get my work done because I'm over here dealing with all of their stuff, right? I won't have time to be eating my pancakes like Miss Sarah. So Sarah's like multitasking, eating pancakes, dropping wisdom in the chat. Thank you, Miss Sarah. Here's some other people we got to show.
There's a ton of other. Yes, go, Bruce. Good
What's
morning,
up, Bruce? How you doing, my man? All right, sorry, I cut you off. Come on.
No. I want to add that sometimes that the need to be valuable, the need to be needed, gets us in a place where we enable or we create that dependency because then we're needed in that space. And I challenge everyone here and anyone that listens that, but it also limits where we can impact. Because if it's normal, those repetitions, and it's the same thing over and over, and I can be there and I can be in the room and I can facilitate and I can help and all this stuff. But if I'm not growing people to be able to facilitate themselves, then I'm staying in this space facilitating.
Yes.
But if I am helping them get super uncomfortable and get up and stand and be able to do some things, Maria Martin is an example, and I know she's out there listening. But when they start feeling that they have the ability to do it and they're scared, but they're going to go and try it with a group of people, and then they're empowered, one, it frees up space for me to go and do even more amazing things. But two, now there's another person that has taken on something and now they are empowered to go and impact change too. How magical is that?
Yeah, that's how you build capability, right? You've got to help. And so, like, I hear those words thrown out a lot. Capability building. We're going to build capabilities. Okay, which capabilities? and for me, the most important, most valuable capability that's going to appreciate in time, over time, and I mean appreciate and value, is problem-solving capability, right? When I'm focused on developing the problem-solving capabilities within individuals, it's an amazing outcome for everybody involved. Like, I don't need to be building compliance capabilities, right? But that's easy, and all that does is create
policies for that.
Right? we got checklists for that.
Yes.
I need to be building problem-solving capabilities because that's exponentially expansive.
Yes.
And so back to what we said earlier. Are you exhibiting the behaviors you seek?
Yes.
Right? Are you doing that? Are you walking the walk? Are you like every interaction, every time you think people ain't looking, you got to do that stuff because people are watching.
And it empowers them. Even if in that moment, they're just like, I could never do, as what Yesenia said, I could never just jump and not be worried about what happens. But I would beg to differ that the more that people are in that space where you're doing things they're scared of, they feel empowered and they feel like I got a little bit more, I got support and I've got people that can help me. And it's not as scary as it was before I saw that.
Yeah. For me, my observation, my experience with that whole thing is, I do a lot of crazy stuff. right? And I just like, let's do that.
I know. Like, what just happened?
Right. And that's my nature. I get it close enough to what I think I want it to be, and then I put the damn thing out there, and then I learn. What I didn't expect, and what I've heard many, many times, is people see that. And like the fear of not being perfect and having, grammar wrong in my post and a video that's like super choppy or whatever. I used to be concerned about that, like people giving me hell about it, right? What's happened actually is people are like, man, I love that you just put it out there. And now I want to do more of that because they can see, right? So it brings down the fear level. Like the LinkedIn police didn't come get me. And so now, like, you know what? They're going to experiment a little bit more. And as they experiment, in my head, that all translates to becoming the promise they're intended to be, right? Mm-hmm. Releasing those self-imposed or suppressed instincts to serve. Like they want to serve, they want to share, they want to put themselves out there. I think that's all our purpose is to share the gifts and talents that we've been blessed with. But we suppress that for fear of judgment, for fear of looking unprofessional, for all kinds of weird stuff. And I really, maybe it's just what I tell myself, the way I show up and do things, there is purpose behind that. And it's so that other people get to say, hey, look at that goofball. I could do that too, right? It's not that hard. Bradley, because he's been watching, Bradley says detachment of ego, recognizing that all those folks in the room are experts and leaders in their own realms, puts the onus on the main leader to utilize their skills to establish a best answer. It may not be existentially the end all correct answer, but it puts the whole team in a better position for success. Right? And so that's it. Like, how do I detach from my answer, my stance, my feelings, my emotional connection to this thing so that other people can come in and then I can massage that or guide it, support it in the appropriate manner for a better outcome for the whole group.
Absolutely.
Man, good stuff. Let's see. Hold on. There's somebody here. Go ahead.
No, there's a ton. There's like so much goodness over there.
Yeah. So Maria did her homework. We got to give credit. Like if you did the homework, we're going to give you credit for the homework. Maria says, I think I'm Mina, but also feel what someone said earlier this week. She's been each of them at one point, except for the scary wolf guy, but maybe she was when she was like 6 to 10 years old. I think it was Cindy Becerra who made a post earlier in the week or since last week about she watched the show and she was able to identify with multiple characters in the movie. And Adam, like, didn't Adam identify with the couple? No, Armando. I think his identifier button is busted because he was identifying with like the gorilla guy.
No, he wanted one, but he felt like he was the other. And we're like, yeah, because you were the other. You were not. He wanted to be Johnny, which everybody wants to be Johnny. He's just cool. But yet he was like, I think that I may be more Klaus Kickenbucker, which is the like guy. Yep. And you're just like, yeah, you kind of want to be Johnny, but we feel you're way over here. So no, it was awesome.
Yeah, good. So Miss Carol says, shoot for the moon and hit a star. That's right, baby. Go me. I don't know how it's like these posts that have my name on them, they always make it to the screen.
The funny part is that on this show, you are getting a lot of shout outs, which is awesome because you say a lot of amazing things. Yet on a lot of the previous shows, I don't feel you call attention when they call my name out.
Well, like Adam's driving. I'm just picking what Adam picked stars, right? It's not about us, Jen. It's about Sarah.
Of course it's not. But we are building a community. Okay, keep that up there. We are building a community of people that have watched and that have shared and that are in a space that they're getting more comfortable sharing and doing things for the first time and doing things that tear down some of that protection. And I am so proud of it. It makes my heart so happy to see people out there being willing to jump like Portia, being willing to jump, knowing that they have this group of people around them that are there that will support them and be there no matter what. And it just makes me happy.
Yes, yes. That's the purpose, right?
Mhm.
Sarah says I'm constantly focusing on stretch goals with employees and how I can enable them to get them comfortable with this new responsibility or task. Right? I mean, that's the deal. You give them a challenge. I mean, I stole this from, oh, I just forgot her name. She wrote the book, Learning to Lead, Leading to Learn. And like
Yes.
there are three
Yeah.
characteristics.
Katie.
Huh?
Katie.
Katie. Yes, Katie. Challenge, three character or responsibilities of a leader or qualities of a leader. Challenge, nurture, and build my own capabilities. Right? I got to set the challenge, which Sarah was talking about, stretch goals. I've got to nurture, not like coddle, nurture by providing the support and resources to meet the challenge. And I've also got to be expanding my capabilities.
Yes.
Those three things, that is the core of what I have decided are a leader, right? That's my version definition of leadership behavior. And it takes work. Like James is talking about, teaching problem solving is a key skill to train on. It works to eliminate the fire drills and firefighter mentality. And they come with solutions and not dumpster fires, right? So I don't know. That's pretty straightforward to me, Jen. What do you think?
Well, no, yes. And there's an example, a story that I want to talk about, because I feel a lot of the things we're talking about today, it's so easy to feel like you have to get something figured out and have enough knowledge and understanding of it before you can pass it on to someone else or before you can bring it up. And so I have a story, an example with Maria. And so I went to Congress last year in New Orleans and attended a session with Brian Winningham on liberating structures. And it's something that he does a lot of. He does a lot of facilitation with it, and it's how to engage, how to facilitate. It's a lot of different examples of how to do that. So I got some cards and things, and I took them back, and they were on my desk at work. And so Maria was in town, and she came, and she's like, "What are these?" And I'm like, I kind of gave her a high level overview of it. I've not dug into it. I don't know enough about it to where I feel comfortable to lead it or to facilitate a training class on it. But we started having this conversation about the cards and all the different examples of ways you can facilitate and get engagement. She's like, "Well, can I have one?" I'm like, "Yeah, take one." She's gone back now with a group that she has that she meets with, and they pulled out some cards and did some conversations. And then she gave me feedback on how they went and what they're going to do next. And they identified, I still am not in any better place knowing and understanding when it comes to liberating structures. Yet she's just gone and done it.
That's it.
And that's still okay. It doesn't mean I failed because I don't know enough about it, or that she's empowered because of just this idea that she didn't even know about. And now she's got some tools that she can use, and she's making them her own. And here's what worked and here's what didn't work. That's the magic. That's the magic that we're doing, that we don't need it doesn't need to be perfect. We don't have to have all the knowledge and be the subject matter expert of it before we can speak it into somebody.
Yes. We have to give ourselves permission to be the wind beneath some people's wings.
Yes.
Jennifer says here, let's face it, women are always the anchor personality. Adam, what are you doing bringing this up on the screen here? Thank you, Carol. And with, oh man, I lost it. There was another good one that she had that I disappeared. But yeah, the wind beneath people's wings, right? You brought an idea, you shared it with Maria. Maria said, all right, I'm going to go do this thing. She didn't get caught up in whatever, right? I need the class, I need the certification, I need all of these things. She just went and did the damn thing.
Yes.
I think there's tremendous value there,
yes.
But I also recognize that that's a very scary situation for people. And that's part of the purpose of the No BS Tribe, is to create a community of people that will support one another, right? Because some of us are fortunate and that we can go back to the workspace and we're in a very supportive environment. Some of us are not. And so the tribe, we're here to support one another. If you
Yes.
go in and experiment and try some crazy new thing, it's scary. You don't know how to handle it. You're not sure how to approach it. That's what we're here for. Like, you can see it in the chat. People are like supporting each other.
Yes.
And that is what we're talking about. Uh-oh. You remember this person?
Woo! Well, I haven't seen him, but he's back in Rio, right? Yes.
Yep. Oh, yeah. And he's shirtless. What's up, Will?
No.
What I'm talking about, baby.
Don't
Oh,
encourage.
man. Look at that. Carol's having a good time with all of this.
Yes.
So we did. Oh, no. So here Carol was saying, I'm publicly admitting that I did not do my homework. Great vehicle for unpacking various personalities. Super creative approach. Got to give Jen the though she is the wind beneath the wings with the homework assignment that I did. I was like, I can't wait to do this homework. It's gonna be so awesome.
Well, speak to the part that frustrated you, which was the first part.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that we own that already. Cindy posted a shot of a scene in the first part with all the people dancing and all the flowers and everyone. It's like, hey, this is like the No BS tribe. So for you, who it got you all there, Cindy was like, this is what I felt when I watched this. So you're not wrong. She's not right. It's like, it's cool because that's the point of these crazy animated homework assignments that we do every so often, is because it gets us in a place that sometimes we don't go very often, watching cartoons. But two, it's going to hit people differently depending on what they do, where they are, all kinds of things. And so she celebrated a piece that frustrated the crap out of you.
Yes, totally. Yesenia says, loving the conversation. She agrees with Jesse
and Jen
and the No BS tribe. Jesse, Jen, and the No BS tribe is both the wind and the net. Fish nets makes her feel safe and gives me the courage to jump more freely. Oh, if y'all didn't know, Yesenia is an emotional bungee jumper.
Yes,
still emotional bungee jumper, and we'll see that we got a new challenge coming out on that private community to figure out who's going to be picking the jumpers for the next round. So back to personalities, right? Mm-hmm. Matt Graves, if you're not following Matt and you're not checking out his Construction Curiosities newsletter, you got to hit him up. Newsletter's super awesome, right? He's got text, he's got a meme, he's got a trivia question, link to a video. So whatever form of consuming content that best suits you, he's got them all in there. So check it out, sign up.
Like him, follow him, everything. Yep. Yes.
And he talks about the toppers, right? The personalities, the toppers who simply reiterate what has already been said without an original thought are the worst, right? It's difficult. And, I want to be clear that yes, I don't appreciate that behavior, but I'm not just going to critique them and pick on them. Right. I will approach that individual after the meeting and try to understand, hey, so-and-so said XYZ, and you said the same thing in different words 4 times. I need to, one, I don't think it added any value. 2, I need to understand where that's coming from. Right. And most of the time, I say 80% of the time, people aren't aware of it. They're like, do I do that? I'm like, yeah, bro, all the time. Somebody will be talking about their vacation. I went on vacation. Oh, I've been there. Did you go to? I was like, man, shut up and let them have the stage. But I think sometimes people want to be a part, just feel a part. They're trying to connect in some way. But what they end up doing is stealing the thunder, stealing the show from the person that brought the thing to the table. And then in other cases, James agrees with Matt about being asked why he didn't comment. And it's, because that damn thing has been said 3 times. Let the thing die. Let's move on. And so the point in what I'm saying is, have the conversation. I mean, it's easy. Yes, I see the problem, right? So if I see a fire, we're all in a room and there's a fire in the corner and I scream and, oh, there's a fire. Am I really helping? Maybe a little bit. But how about let's get everybody out of the room. Somebody call 911, somebody pull the fire alarm, now I'm doing something instead of just pointing at the problem. So there's some action required. And
Yes.
I think that's the challenge, right?
So Jesse, you and I talk about this a lot, and we've done it outside of this space, like right here. Can you talk through the yes and exercise? Because I feel like that hits this specifically in a meeting setting.
Yes. And so I learned this exercise. I kind of ripped and deployed it from an improv class that I had taken. And so we were kind of training up for this big thing that we were doing. And the exercise is this. And I recommend you do it or actually maybe we need to figure out how to do that as a group.
Yes.
So here's the exercise. You get a group of people and you're planning a party. And you say, like, the instructions are this: Jen, I'm planning a party. You need to tell us what you're bringing to the party. The person next to you is going to say, these are the rules. The next person is going to say no. And then they say what they're going to bring to the party. And then the person after that listens and says no, and so forth, right? And so the question then is, like, how do you feel when you bring an idea and somebody says no? Well, that doesn't feel good. Okay. Are you likely to even contribute to the conversation the next time? No. Right? So you're not creating the conditions that you want. Okay. The next round is your same rules, except instead of saying no, you say yes, but. Right. Well, let me stick on the no part. So if I'm sharing like a highlight or celebration or contributing, and then somebody comes in and tops me, that's a no. That feels like, oh, you don't want to hear my stuff. You just want to talk about your stuff. I'm out. I'm done. Right. The yes, but is, hey, Jen, I'm going to be bringing Skittles to the party. And you say, yes, but I'm bringing sparkling water. I don't know, whatever. Go through that cycle. Yes, but is really a chicken shit way, or maybe a polite way of saying no. Right? Like, yes, but. And now I will say, like, I don't think everybody does that, says yes, but with the intent of being covert in saying no. I think it's just a habit, a word that we use, but the effect is still there.
Yeah,
the
it's
yes,
still a no.
But it's still a no.
It's still a no.
It's still a no. Like, just so let's just get clear. If you mean to say no, say no.
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole point is, like, that yes, but response undermines collaboration, undermines brainstorming. Mm-hmm. The last round is yes, and. So I'm bringing fishnet hoodies for everybody. Jen says yes, and I'm bringing glitter and neon stripes for everybody. And then, you go down the road, and what always happens every time I run this is the party, like that last party, is an amazing party. There may be some illegal things happening in those parties sometimes, but the point is, when you say yes, and, it has this building effect. There's momentum grows because people are invited to contribute to the conversation,
and they're validated. What they've said, 100%. They're validating what someone's validating them.
Yes, and so maybe that's an exercise for the group to go back and practice, or maybe pay attention to. When you're listening to people, when you're interacting with people, are you interacting with a no mentality or a yes but mentality? Or maybe a foundational step is work on replacing the word but with and. See how that feels, because it's not easy. It's a challenge. See how that feels, because then it'll build your awareness of how often you're butting people.
Well, and this conversation is so important in general, but to me, in that we acknowledge and put this out there for people that have never understood it. It's part of my big room rules, whether it's a virtual meeting or it's an in-person meeting. When we go around and kind of the big room rules, no hierarchy, yes, and is one of the rules. And we walk through this exercise at the beginning so that they start thinking, in a different way. And it's amazing in the meeting. Sometimes it's like half-day sessions someone will go yes and it's like they're accentuating it because they're consciously making a different response, and they want the room to know. It becomes kind of a funny joke. They laugh, but it helps keep the conversation growing and getting bigger because they're intentionally thinking about it. When they leave that meeting, they're gonna be thinking about those connections that happened in that room when they go into a different meeting.
Yes. Bradley says validating plus adding to the intent of the original issue, building a solution greater than anticipated. And that is the bottom line. That is the purpose. If your intent is to build this inclusive, forward thinking, we'll even say innovative conditions, you do this. If you want to stay where you're at, say no. Do what Maria heard. Never going to happen. Right? Now you might be an OG, like Maria was saying. I'm not the wolf, girl. This is evidence that you are the wolf. It can't even phase me. Whatever. I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'm just picking on you, girl. And then Carol brings another freaking awesome point, right? Why can't we be courageous and just say, I don't agree with your idea because of XYZ, right? And that's the point. If you're gonna say no, be clear about your no. And be clear, like, I'm not on board with the idea yet. These are the things that I'm struggling with. Like me and Adam have these conversations a couple times a week of like, I'm not seeing it. Like, help me because I don't agree. Sometimes we align. Sometimes we say, okay, we're not on the same page on this one. And that's okay. But it's she says, a serious yet non-critical voice denotes a constructive conversation. Does that work? 100%, right? Like, be clear, because you know what we do as human beings? When people aren't clear, we fill it in with all the clear space. We fill it in with our insecurities and assumptions and make it more evil and sinister than it actually is. Like, well, she didn't say yes. She said yes, but so, man, is she mad at me, or what does she mean by that? And like, you already know this, Jen. We've talked about this before. Like, I'm not going to try to figure it out.
No, and you're so good at that it's making me do better at even explaining things. Like, I'll get done, and you're like, I don't even know where you're coming from, and I'm like, crap. Like, in my mind, I conveyed something that you got nothing, and so it's like that's not on you. That's you being courageous and going, you're gonna have to do better. And literally that's how I take it. But it also is making me have to stop and think about how I'm communicating to you or to anyone else. Like, am I being clear? And it not just being a lot of this fluff that I'm just feeling it because it's coming out of my head, and it's not there's nothing clear that you can take, because we do that all the time.
Yep. Oh yeah. Oh man. So we still got some time. We got 8 minutes. This is helping. So I'm glad you asked the question. I'm so thankful for you being the wind beneath my wings. So Carol says, love it though. Yes. And thank you for this super helpful suggestion. Sarah says, knowing about the yes, but is a game. Oh, and this is where it's like the worst, right? Like, it's hell with you for when people are, I'm sorry, but, well, you ain't sorry, fool.
Or, to be honest, when you start any conversation with to be honest, like, anything that follows that in my mind is it's like, so you weren't honest the last conversation, you're not usually honest in how you give feedback. Like, that doesn't negate anything. It doesn't negate any words coming after that, to be honest. Like,
right. Say what you have to say.
Yes.
You have all these weird, and again, I don't think I know. Well, let me just forget like the ambiguous stuff. There are times when I use this kind of language, and it's not an accident.
No, it's intentional.
I'm using it on purpose. Sometimes before I was aware of it, like the yes, but, and to be honest, and all due respect, and all that fluff garbage, I wasn't aware that I did that. And I have a lot of recording of me talking. So I've learned, like, that's not what I'm trying to say. I sound like a jellyfish. Like, come on, own what you got to say. And that's the point. own what you're going to say. If I don't agree, I'm gonna let you know I don't agree. If I'm not on board, I'm gonna let you know I'm not on board. If I don't understand, I'm not going to guess. I'm gonna say, what does that mean?
Mhm.
Like, or ask a yes or no question, because those are okay. And you don't get a yes or no, I'm like, so that's a no. That's what I heard. Like, can you be clear? Because I've asked a clear question, or maybe I didn't. Right, that's something else to work on. Look at Carol agrees. She said, yes, that fool ain't honest. Like, come on, man. Like, and so that's the thing. Why do we want to worry about it? Why do we even want to think about this? Because we may be unintentionally messaging to other people that they can't trust us. Right. And if I can't trust you, I'm not going to be safe. I'm not going to be vulnerable. And if I can't be vulnerable, the depth of connection, the growth that could happen will not happen. And so being aware of this, again, it's not an accusation. We're talking about to help elevate our awareness, is intended for us to create these spaces so that we can breathe life into people and support each other as we're growing forward into the world.
And there's a lot of us in spaces, Jesse, that we see it and we observe it, and we are in a place that we can help other people. Yes. And it's not to call attention, it's not to attack, it's not to weaponize, but we've grown a little bit from where we were in a place where we didn't recognize it. We now recognize it, and now we're in a place where we can help other people either recognize it and really stop and think about those things, even if it's to a room full of people. Hey, let's go through this exercise to make sure we're not doing this. Hey, pull them aside after the fact. We saw this a couple times. You may just want to think about that. Like, we're in positions now to help other people recognize it as well.
Yes, that is the point. So Thomas LeMay says, all right, y'all, it's time to transition. He said he's got his batteries charged. He's not going to make the after party. So y'all, we're going to have the after party here in about 9 minutes at 9:20. I posted an event on LinkedIn. What I'll do after we get off, or rather what I'll do while Jen is sharing her closing thought, is I'll post it in the different chats on all the socials, so we can hear your thoughts on the idea. And like, it's a fact. We had a conversation today. This and y'all's contributions have been freaking amazing. Thank you for helping us. And usually the next conversation, the topic comes from the after
from this conversation, yes.
From here, and then whatever's added to it in the after party. So please come help us keep this thing, keep it growing. And so, Jen, I'm going to share a closing thought. Miss Carol put this in there, and I want us to keep thinking about it.
Okay.
Is the leader should be a tribe elder. Life experience equals wisdom, not always commensurate with age, but often is. And so when I think of a tribe elder, I think of somebody that sits quietly, is caring, is nurturing, is receptive. And when they speak softly, but they have a commanding presence. So that's something I want all of us to think about. And as I'm posting links, Jen, you have a closing thought for us?
I do. So I like the leader. Doesn't have to be the loudest voice, but there's respect and trust there. And so we've hit on some of those things before. So I love that, Carol. And then we hit on this earlier in the show, and it keeps popping in my head. So I've got to hit it. So when we talk about those, we see something and we want to respond to it. I got to go back to, my girls, and we're used to in our workspace to identify issues, to see problems, to bring solutions. And that's how we show up. And that's okay, because that's what we're supposed to do. I just challenge you, because I've been caught on this multiple times at home, is that's not always the best approach when you're in a place to respond to something your kids have done, whether it's they're celebrating something or they're trying something for the first time. And I have failed at this multiple times on, Mom, look at this. That's great, but you could have done this. Or hey, if you just add this one thing here, it'll make it better. And I do it not to negate or take away from what they're doing. That's how I'm programmed. And I've had to reprogram my brain to either not respond and let them share, and then just tell them how amazing it is. And
Yes.
like it's so hard, and it's not that I don't want to help them grow. It's just that's not the space to do it, to help build their, what's inside of them, and to help them feel validated.
Yes.
That's my summary for today.
That's the closing thought. Yeah, thank you for that, Jen. I think bottom line, when we're aware of how impactful, how enormous we are as human beings, we can serve to a greater degree.
Yes.
And that's it. Like, how do we build the awareness around how amazing we are and how much value we can bring, and how much healing we can bring to each other, so we don't have to suffer alone. We can grow together.
Yes.
So I'm posting a little link, and I got to figure out how to get it out there. There's a workshop today at noon. It's a 2-hour workshop on, can't remember what they called it, like anxiety. It's like art, stress relief, mental wellness. I got it from my therapist. Thank you, Ms. Danielle. And I'm going to check it out. So I'm not sure what to expect, but I know that oftentimes we're dealing with a lot of pressure, and finding resources to deal with that are few and far between, or maybe we just don't even know how to look, because it took me a long time to figure out where to find this therapist at, right? And so maybe this will help lay the path for some folks.
And I know you put it in the chat, so those of you that are there can click on that. Is if they're, in case they get out of this live stream and then they're trying to get to the after party, I just want to make sure we've given directions, because I know some people are new and have not jumped on there before. Is it so they just have to find it in the chat?
I don't understand.
How do they access after party after the live stream's closed?
The after party has been posted in the chat, and it's been posted in the link, no BS.
That's the answer.
Page. Okay. Yeah. And it's on my whatchamacallit, on my personal profile. It's everywhere.
Okay. That's awesome.
Good.
Yep.
All right. Thank you all. Love you very much. Ooh.